Let's talk about New Orleans food again.
Please.
I'm not a fan. And, you know, first of all, I'm not a fan of the city. Like, I remember I went out there the first time. It was early 2000s, Air Force Ones, Nelly, headband, all that. I'm ready. And I was just standing there by Bourbon Street. And I was like, what's this green juice going down this street? Oh, it was horses and alcohol mixed with sewage. And then I was like, what is so exciting and so enticing about New Orleans? Last time, I ain't gonna lie to you, dog, not a big fan.
Welcome back to Travel University. Today we're diving into a hot topic, why New Orleans might be a little overrated. Now, don't get me wrong, New Orleans is a city with a rich history and vibrant culture, but sometimes the hype doesn't quite match up to the experience. So let's explore why this iconic city might not be all it's cracked up to be. Buckle up and let's get into it. The Big Easy, America's flavorful playground, a city that dances to its own rhythm. New Orleans, the birthplace of jazz, home of Mardi Gras, a place where history and culture blend seamlessly, a city that needs no introduction. Its charm is legendary, its spirit infectious. It's a place where the party never stops, the food is a religious experience, and the music flows like the Mississippi River. Every corner has a story to tell. But like most major cities, while New Orleans has a lot that glitters, there's also a lot that visitors complain about. First up, let's talk about tourist traps. The French Quarter? Sure, it's got character, but it's also chock full of overpriced bars and souvenir shops. The more you explore, the more you realize that the authentic experience is often just a way to part you from your cash. And Bourbon Street? Well, let's just say it's not exactly the best representation of New Orleans' real charm. It's a bit like if you went to New York City and spent all your time in Times Square. Sure, it's famous, but there's a lot more to see beyond the glittering lights. New Orleans is a sensory overload in the best possible way. The sights, sounds, and smells create an unforgettable tapestry. The aroma of Cajun spices wafts through the air, mingling with the sounds of trumpets and saxophones. It's a feast for the senses, which leads us into our next area of discussion, the food. New Orleans is known for its amazing cuisine, gumbo, jambalaya, po' boys, and beignets. But here's the thing, not every spot lives up to the hype. Many of the most famous places are tourist-focused and, frankly, can be pretty mediocre. It's the law of large numbers. When a place gets too popular, quality can sometimes slip. If you're looking for the best of the best, you might need to venture off the beaten path. The true gems are often tucked away in less touristy areas. While New Orleans heats it up in the kitchen, that heat is still turned up when you head outside. Another common gripe of visitors to New Orleans is the hot weather. New Orleans is known for its swampy, humid climate. And let me tell you, it's not for everyone. Summers are brutal. High temperatures and humidity can make even a short walk feel like a marathon. If you're not a fan of the heat, or if you're someone who easily gets worn out by sticky weather, New Orleans might not be your ideal vacation spot. And speaking of weather, let's not forget about the flooding issues. New Orleans is built below sea level, which means it's prone to serious flooding, especially during hurricane season. The city has made strides in flood prevention, but heavy rains can still lead to unexpected challenges. Now let's address the elephant in the room, safety and cleanliness. Like many big cities, New Orleans has its share of issues. Some areas can feel a bit sketchy, especially after dark. And while the city is known for its historic charm, it doesn't always translate into pristine streets. Of course, this doesn't mean the whole city is unsafe or dirty, but it's something to be aware of if you're planning a visit. Always do your research and stay vigilant. Finally, let's talk about the myth of New Orleans being a non-stop party. Sure, Mardi Gras is legendary, but the reality is that the city isn't always a constant carnival. Outside of festival times, things can be pretty laid back, or downright sleepy. If you're expecting endless celebrations, you might be disappointed. The city does have its moments, but they can be few and far between. So make sure your expectations are realistic. While the city overall is amazing, let's not sugarcoat it, folks. New Orleans has its downsides like any other city. Like any popular destination, it can get crowded, especially during peak season. Imagine Times Square on New Year's Eve, but with more beads and fewer clothes. And then there's the weather. New Orleans is hot and humid, like really humid. Think of a sauna that's also hosting a crawfish boil. You'll sweat more than a politician in a lie detector test. And let's not forget about the mosquitoes. Those little bloodsuckers are more persistent than a telemarketer during dinner. Don't forget your bug spray, folks, or you'll end up looking like you lost a fight with a pincushion. So, how do you navigate the Big Easy without running into a lot of the problems? First, plan your trip during the shoulder seasons, spring or fall, to avoid the crowds and the worst of the heat and humidity. Next, pace yourself. New Orleans is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't try to do everything in one day, or you'll end up exhausted and missing out on the city's more nuanced charms. While Bourbon Street is a must-see, don't limit yourself to just one area. Venture beyond the French Quarter and discover the city's diverse neighborhoods. So is New Orleans overrated? It's complicated, like a relationship status on Facebook complicated. On one hand, New Orleans lives up to the hype. The food is incredible, the music is infectious, and the atmosphere is unlike anywhere else in the world. On the other hand, it can be crowded, hot, and expensive. But isn't that true of most popular tourist destinations? While many visitors may feel the city is overrated, its beauty remains in the eye of the beholder. So be sure to plan your trip to the Big Easy and check the city out for yourself. Like a movie review, don't just take someone else's word for it. Go visit New Orleans for yourself and see if it lives up to your own expectations. So, there you have it. Why New Orleans might be a bit overrated. From tourist traps and food letdowns to the weather and safety concerns, there are definitely some aspects to think about before planning your trip. But hey, if you're a history buff or a fan of unique cultures, there's still a lot to love about this city. So what do you think? Have you been to New Orleans? What was your experience like? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on our latest content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.